Hey everybody, welcome back. So we're going to spend some time in the shop today, and I just recently picked up a new table saw. I picked up a Sawstop three horse of the cabinet saw, the PCS, and looking forward to that. Where my issue is all the accessories that I have currently on the Grizzly, which has been a great saw over the past about 5 years. I've had it, no real complaints about it. It was just time that I wanted to upgrade to a little bit nicer saw and get the Sawstop technology into the shop, and yeah, so just doing a little upgrade, but I want to keep some of those old parts. So let's take a look at that and see what we can do. So here's the current Grizzly. A great saw. Anybody who's looking for a saw, this one's going to be available real quick. But a couple things I really like about it is I've got this Incra lift with the cast iron table that goes to the saw. I also have the VerySuperCool Tools fence, and then I've got the jessem anti-kickback that go to that. Also, this is also hooks up so I can do dust collection for the router table, and I've got a couple of those. They're right up in there, and they hook alongside this fence, and then I can do dust collection. So I can bring my 4-inch over to here and do dust collection there. I also have dust collection underneath. I want to keep that. So I want the table, I want this. I've got the shark guard hooked up to a 4-inch. I really like that. So I'm gonna have to get a different riving knife. That's probably the simplest one. The other thing I have is I've got this Shop Fox sliding table attachment that I bought a while back. They are no longer available. And if I want to do the one for Sawstop, it's like $1,300. I own this one, so I really don't want to spend that money. I don't want to spend $500 for another table, and may or may not be able to get that Incra insert to fit in there. So I've got those things that I want to keep within the and transfer over to the new saw. So I've got the new saw, and this is as far as I've got it so far. I've got the mobile base on there. I've got one of the extension wings. This one I don't have on because that's hopefully where this sliding table is going to go. And then I got the 36-inch version, so hopefully the router table goes on there. And then I'll have a little bit wider saw than I had before. So let's see how it goes. All right, here's what we got so far. On the Sawstop, they've got a 4-hole pattern. And on this one, has kind of a staggered 3-hole pattern. So it's only got 3 here. So that means these are going to have to get drilled. Not a big deal, but I was hoping not to do that. So I will set up, get those drilled and get this mounted on here yet. So we'll see what happens when we get to the other side. My understanding that they were a 4-hole pattern and not a 3, so we'll see what happens. Probably have to drill the other side too, which is unfortunate. There it goes. All right, so we've got the sliding table attachment on here, and I kind of played back and forth on how far I wanted this setting back. So the way I have it set up right now, this is all the way forward, so I get about halfway through my blade. That does allow me to do, when it comes all the way back, to do 48-inch pieces. But that means this is sticking out, you know, further out behind the saw than I had before, and we'll see how that works. I can always shift it forward. I have to drill new holes. One of the things, and it's got that 3-hole pattern on the attachment and a 4-hole pattern on the saw. But part of the problem is this table is slightly narrower in height than the Grizzly, and so this hole is a little bit, you can kind of see the heights of these holes. There's where the Grizzly height was. So I'm pretty high up in here. There is not a whole lot of meat left up in there. I was able to get 3 holes, so I've got 1 there. One there, 1 there. Haven't put the 4th one in yet. I may or may not do that, and why I may not do that is what I'm thinking about doing is actually taking a piece of 1/4 inch by 2 inch flat stock, and what I'll do is drill it to the 4-hole pattern, and then with some countersink bits or countersink screws, do that, and then come in from the back side and then do some countersink holes so they're a little bit lower, so that I can get down, you know, down into here rather than up into here with my attachments. For right now, I'm going to leave that to kind of see how I like the placement of this. Like I said, I got 49 inches between the fence in this position and my blade. It does kind of stick back here a little bit further than I like, but we'll just see how I like that. I may move it forward, I may leave it, but I think long term I'm going to go ahead and put that 1/4 inch plate in there. The other thing is I needed to relocate the switch, and it allows me, so I was able to just drill a couple holes, mount that up there. I like this because I don't know if I can see this. You can kind of see where it's sitting out proud, and what I want to be able to do is if I come in here, it's going to be a little upside down, is I can kick that with my leg. So if I do have a problem with the saw, for whatever reason, I can just basically lean into that switch. Only one time in the last 40 plus years would have been nice to have that. So I guess that's a nice little safety feature that I can have it readily available, and I don't have to take my hands off whatever I'm holding to shut off the saw. So, and if I move this forward, then I'll just move this further back. So. All right, so because these are both the Biesmeyer style fences, the VerySuperCool Tools fence went right on here that without a problem. I do like on the Sawstop that they have, rather than having this powder coated, they have this, it looks like they tape off for the powder coating to allow that to kind of run along. It just glides a little bit nicer. The one thing that did happen though is the placement of my guide. For this one is about 1 inch different than the Sawstop one, so I can't get this to line up, so I end up picking up my new rule. I still have to calibrate this. This is just a Fastcap. It's got some pressure sensitive tape that I'll put down and then put this on there once I get it lined up. What I'll probably do is they've got this little magnifying glass on the one from Sawstop, is I'll probably just put that in there, which means I'll have to just drill another 1/4 hole in there and tap that. Not a big deal. So then I can get that aligned and put that in there. But other than that, the fence is going to work perfectly fine. So the riving knife I've got on order for the shark guard, and that should show up at some point in time here. I ordered that today, so then we can go ahead and continue to use this. And I did order, they have a light attachment, which is kind of nice. We'll see how that works. They've got a little flashlight that goes on here so you can actually see down. So if you're putting a mark on your wood, you can actually see the wood. You can see it a little bit better, and you know, older eyes need to see a little bit better. So the router fence extension bolted directly on there. We've got the 4-bolt pattern on the Sawstop, and then we had a 4-bolt pattern on the this. It's a bench dog. This came from Rockler, and then the Incra. So this is all reusable, and I've got everything kind of dialed in here where I like it. I'm pretty happy with that. So the one thing with this table, so this table is 16 inches, and the wood insert that they have for this extension, it comes with the saw on that, with that 36 inch is 24 inches. So that brings it out to here. And so I'm, 8 inches back or whatever, 8.5 inches. So I might go ahead and do an insert in here. For now, I'm not going to, but that would flush out here. And then I may have to look at how my legs are. So I did have to modify how these legs attached. They actually attached to the other piece differently. So I just had a couple holes I had to drill to get those in there. But now I've got good leg support on this one, because you got a lot of weight hanging out on this side of the saw. The other thing I have to do, and I'm waiting, is I have to notch out for my miter slots. So that's why I'm going to wait on that until I decide whether I'm going to move this out or not. Actually, if I move it out, it's already cut for it. So, yeah, so we'll wait on that. The other thing is I'm going to, let's get down in underneath here. All right, so underneath the saw here, I did do some rewiring. So I've got a single cord coming in here, and I added a neutral wire for the 220. This is the old power that I refed from the saw, and then I've got 2 outlets here. One of them I hook up to a switch that goes up for the router, and then the router will plug into here, so the router can be taken out. And the other thing that's happened is, because of these legs now, I can't use the old cabinet that I built from it, because the legs run into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design a hanging enclosure for the router with a couple of drawers facing that way. Then underneath here, I'll build some type of another cabinet in here, whether it's drawers going that way, drawers going that way. I don't know yet, but that'll be a future project. And then I got to decide before, when I do the, if I'm moving the router table out or not, if that's going to happen. So that's it underneath here. All right, so the outfeed table is not going to quite work as well as it used to. A couple of reasons is sits higher, and which was a little confusing to begin with. Why this was, we've got an inch difference. Generally, saws are pretty even height, but what I realized later is I have that mobile base underneath the Grizzly that holds it up, and probably about that 1.1 inches. So I do have levelers that I built into this, so this pulls off, and I've got different levelers in here that I can level and tweak that. I think I've got enough to drop this down to get it to function. But the other thing I want to do is, I've got more rollers as I want to extend this out over into here, another bay, so I can get out another about 11 inches, which would get me pretty much out to the face here. Probably hold it back a little bit for so I have some infeed for the router table. So I think that kind of covers it. Some of it went better, some of it went not as well as I thought it was going to go, and I'm really happy that I was able to get all my parts moved over to this saw, and without a huge amount of changes. I know there's not, I tried looking around, there wasn't a whole lot of things out there that kind of talked about that, so that was kind of why I prompted this to do this video. I know there's a bunch of setup videos on the Sawstops, a lot of really great ones, so there was no point of going through that. So this is more was just, let's look at the modifications and taking your stock saw out of the box and making some changes that fit your shop. So anyway, hope you guys have a great one, and I need to make some sawdust, and yeah, we'll see you next time.